Hello folks, thank you for tuning into this video. In this tutorial, I'm going to be looking at tables, the table element. I'm going to be leaving out the code that we have done before so that you are able to relate, so that you are able to remember what we have covered in the previous videos. So in this video, I'm just going to talk about the table element. The table element, as we all know, the structure of a table. The table is made up of rows and columns. It's made up of rows and columns. So there are tags that are used to represent the table in HTML5, the table as a whole, which is the table tag. And then we also have tags that represent the columns in a table as well as the rows in a table. So that is what we are going to be looking at in this tutorial, the structure of a table. So in order to make a table in HTML5, I'm going to be throwing in some CSS a little bit in order for me to style our table, because writing the table tag on its own like this is actually not going to display a bordered table. So I'm going to need to use CSS in order to style my table so that we are able to see the border here. The reason why I'm doing this is because we used to have an attribute. For example, I'll say border. Border 1. Okay. We no longer have these attributes because they have been deprecated. They are no longer valid in HTML5. So we are going to use the CSS and refer it to our table. A table can have a heading, the headings. The table can also have the rows. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a row here in my table. This is my first row in my table. I'm using what is called a tr tag. As you can see, we have the tr tag, then we have the table, the table row, where I'm going to write some text. It is supposed to be bordered because, as you know, that most of the tables that we use are bordered. So let me just write some simple text and say this is a row, and reload my browser over here. You are going to notice that we have, oh, I'm sorry about that, I wrote it outside the tag. I wrote my row is supposed to, because the row is a child of the table element, so I was supposed to write it inside the row. Let me just put a break here so that my work, let me just put a break here so that we see it at the bottom here over there, and put another one. Right, you can see this is actually a table. This is actually a table, as you can see. However, you cannot tell that it's a table until we have some borders around these rows and tables. Okay, so I want to add a style sheet. Remember, I talked about an embedded CSS. I just want to demonstrate that one as well. We could use our external CSS here and refer it to the table like this, to the table element. and style it like this and say border 1px solid. Like we are actually selecting the table here, and then you're changing styling the border property of this table, and then changing the size of the border to 1 pixel. The border style, it should be solid, and then the color we are setting it to black. So this is how we are going to write it in. Now I want to use inline CSS for this anyway. Okay, let me first reload so that we notice the difference. As you can see, there is my border. There is my border. It's coming up, but it's small. It's small. I wonder what's happening here. Let's see. Okay. We have our TR. Okay. In our TR, in our first row, we are going to add a cell, a column. We want to add a table with about 3 columns and say TD, that is for table data. Then I'm going to say John TD, and then I'm going to have 3 of these with different values though. John Smith, and then Hector. I will load our page over there. You will notice now that there is a change. We have our cell. However, when you view it on the browser here, you will notice that everything seems to be in one cell. If I highlight like this, you will notice that there are some divisions showing that we have 3 cells in our row. Let me add another row again and say, and another one, maybe 3. We have 3 people. Just indent this properly. Okay, that is the structure of our table over there. Let me just, you'll notice that it is putting everything as if it's in the same cell. So we're going to make some changes here in our CSS over here. We have actually targeted the table. Now we are going to target the TR. Let me just say TR. Now we no longer have that. TR. TD. As well as the table itself. You are going to notice that now we have a table with all the cells surrounded by a border. Let me just change the names of these people so that it's clear that we have different people. I'm just going to say Infano, Mabuza, and say developer. Then here we say Mary. Moyo. Then we give her the profession of an educator. Right, and so we have our people here with their skills. The next thing that I'm going to do here, I've shown you the structure of a table to show that in our table we have 3 columns and 3 rows. As you can see, 1, 2, 3 columns, 1, 2, 3 rows. Okay. Now we are going to also look at the other components of a table element. We have talked about the rows and the columns. In the next video, we are going to look at the other components like the table header, the table body, the table footer, because we can include a footer on our table, we can include the body, we can include the headings over here. So we're going to continue from our table as we continue with our elements and look at another at other components that go into our table. Thank you for watching this video. Do not forget to share, like, subscribe and comment in order to help us create more free content and also to help us improve in what we are doing so that you benefit a lot from our work. Thank you very much. Goodbye.